Hi, I'm Shaun.
My name is Pamela Chng.
So when in a social space, we need to make profits. So you need people with good heart and good heads.
What are you stewarding? You are stewarding your people, you're stewarding the environment. So it's not what we're doing, right? It's really how we're doing it.
I'm a co-founder of Inclus, and Inclus started in 2018 with a team of 4. And we started with the idea of helping people with disabilities get jobs. But since then, we have evolved to help them be better equipped with managing and handling life. So our focus really now is on training them, is on helping them get into jobs, is on supporting them in jobs, and very importantly, building a life for themselves and their caregivers outside of jobs. So we have grown to a team of almost 20. Each of us are uniquely focusing on different areas of an individual, and I'm hoping that we can grow the team to a bigger size so that we can serve more people with disabilities because it's the largest minority group in the world at 16%. So there's really a lot of individuals that need help, can be helped, should be helped, and a lot don't fall under our radar or any of our partners or any of our government agencies' radar.
Right.
So it's in our interest to how do we go proactive rather than to be passive and getting partners to prefer us. We go out there and see who can we help to have a better life.
Cool. I am the co-founder and CEO of the Bettr Group. We started in 2011, so this is year 13. We became the first B Corp in Southeast Asia in 2015. And the goal really was to see how we could use business as a force for good. So we started in the coffee business. Bettr Barista is now known as Bettr Academy, where we use education as a way to work with marginalized communities, youth at risk, marginalized women, ex-offenders, people with mental health issues, and give them the skill set to overcome their challenges with work-ready skills. So in our case is beverage skills, right, as well as emotional training and physical training. Then we also have a food manufacturing coffee roastery that we wholesale, work with brands. And then coffee bars, mostly in workplaces. So, we've got bars in Meta and in Temasek offices and things like that, where we create inclusive employment opportunities for these individuals to be able to, become financially independent and get included in the workforce and ultimately thrive, right? So that they stop being in the margins, right? And kind of reduce the inequality that exists in our society. So obviously, we've been doing this a while, right? So the team, we're kind of almost about 50 people now. We have plans to grow, but also kind of just managing efficiencies and effectiveness and productivity to ensure that we can create effective, sustainable business models while still creating social impact. Yeah, so we're looking forward to the next 13 years. There's, I think, a lot to do, but I think with fellow change makers like yourself, I think we have a lot of work we can do in the future.
So Inclus is a social enterprise. We help people with disabilities get jobs. And there are 3 founders. So there's myself, there's Anders, and there's Rudy. Rudy is a friend of Anders and mine for quite a good number of years now, and he has autism. He has a professional diploma, but he has always struggled with socializing, finding jobs, holding on to his jobs. And I think in a way, everything aligned because Anders and I were very fortunate beneficiaries of a lot of opportunities when we were growing up, which really got us to where we are today.
Yeah.
Anders and I also started a social enterprise back in 2013 in the educational space to give back, to help people who needed help with their homework, get the help that they want.
Yeah.
But we didn't know how to build a business model around it.
Right.
So that failed spectacularly. But
The best.
our heart has always still been in this space because we engage people with disabilities at that point of time who were underemployed to help with the homework.
Okay.
But we didn't know how to make money out of it. We didn't want to charge students for asking questions about their homework. So died a natural death. We continued doing what we did best, which was IT development. So I think in a certain sense, our story is a bit similar to your story. We ran an agency, it was very tiring, we were always helping others, and there was really not much purpose or meaning to that.
Okay.
When we reconnected with Rudy, that was where we thought the problem is still something that exists 6 years down the road.
Okay.
Can we give this a good shot? So that's how Inclus started.
There are some parallels. I think it's 2024, right? So
Yeah.
I think 14 years ago now, I was running my first business. Was a web consultancy, so also in tech and web. And I think as with many startup entrepreneurs and founders, we got very burnt out, right? And also really asking, okay, is this a way of doing business, right? How the world needs to function in the future. And I took a while, right, to think about what would the future look like, right, and that was sustainable and that could maybe create less problems than we've created in the past 50 years for ourselves. And that's when I guess the whole social business model, right, that I think Mohammed Yunus, right, and the Grameen Bank, that was really, I think, 1976, right, when that model started, right? So actually the idea of using business to create social good and social impact has been around for a long time. So the question is, why are businesses not doing that, like as a reason for being, right? So decided to use the social business model and see how we could create truly a business for good. So I roped in two of my co-founders. They didn't know what they were in for. And
we all don't.
Yeah, we all don't, right? And then we decided to use coffee as the industry and the vehicle, right, to create impact and change. So that's, it's 13 years later and we're still here. So
the three entities that you have, they are all for-profit entities.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct. It's because the whole idea is that how do we generate commercial revenue, right? So that it is financially sustainable. And while doing that, be able to ensure that we are focusing on creating positive change, whether for people or for planet. So it's not what we're doing, right? It's really how we're doing it. And I think that is really the key difference between social businesses and purely commercial businesses, right? It's the idea of stewardship, right? Like, what are you stewarding? You are stewarding your people, you're stewarding the environment, you're stewarding the sustainability, right, of the future. So that's a big responsibility, and I don't know that businesses truly understand that.
The biggest barrier for us when we first started was on the mindset or mentality. I think we are, if not the only one of the few that are doing employment for people with disabilities with a profitable model. So fundamentally, we function the same as a recruitment agency.
Right.
So we charge employers for helping them find an employee with disability.
Yep.
But this space have been dominated by non-profits, charities for the longest time. Even from one of the more forward-looking societies that we have done learning journeys at, mostly United States, mostly the non-profits are using this model, which means that a lot of times the employment fee is subsidized by an external stakeholder, potentially without skin in the game, like the employer. So we struggled with that when we tried to structure in a way that was understandable and appreciated by employers. Because if we are taking the perspective where if I'm a non-profit now and I come to you and I say that, Pamela, can you help me? I have 5 potential candidates. They have F&B experience. They need help with employment. Can you hire them, please? And on the other side, there will be Inclus coming in to say, Pamela, I'm going to help you grow your F&B business. I'm going to help you manage your supply crunch. I have 5 candidates. These are the fees for hiring all of them. So it was, instead of me helping you now, me as an employer helping you now, I have to pay you for a professional service. That shift in mentality was difficult. And at times it was also challenging for employers to wrap their head around what's the difference between working with you or working with a non-profit or working with a government agency. For example, SG Enable, who helps people with disabilities get jobs in Singapore. We were very fortunate. We work very closely with SG Naval, we work very closely with other non-profits to place a candidate into a job. And
Okay.
I think that's where employers saw that beyond just working with I think it's also very similar to the 3Ps model that Singapore pushes quite a bit, the public, private and people sector.
Yep.
So it's only through the fortune of us being able to partner with the government agencies and the non-profits that I think we got a breakthrough in the employment space for the employers.
Okay. So now you're saying that employers are happy and willing to pay you for this service.
They are. The baseline for us has to be, you're not hiring for CSR. If you're hiring for CSR, you are in a position where you are helping somebody.
Okay.
But you're not hiring because you think that individual has a value for yourself.
Okay.
Or maybe you're hiring because of a quota. And when you are hiring for a quota, regardless of the reason, it could be because of you're trying to provide more equitable opportunities, for example. So you're trying to balance the scale.
Right.
I have, out of every 100 people, I need to hire one person with disability.
Right.
When the system or when the format is structured as such, it can create some other imbalances in the organization, such as if I'm a person with disability and I get employed, I feel that I only got the job because I got a disability. Or if I'm a colleague and I see you getting promoted through the ranks, for example, and even though you are way more qualified for the role than you should be, I would feel that you only got the role because of your disability. So that's a darker side of inclusive employment and something that we have to manage very closely with our employment partners. Because we might just be working with a team who's very inclusive,
Yep.
but we can't control a lot of other aspects of the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a similar challenge that we deal with because we also work, right, with employers to place our marginalized women and youth at risk into the workplace. So not disabilities, but marginalization, right? And it's a kind of similar mindset, right? So I completely understand the struggles that you're going through. What keeps you up at night?
I think the heaviest thing on my mind now that I do not have a clear answer to will be that how do we... so when in a social space, we need to make profits, we need people with a good heart too. So you need people with good heart and good heads. To attract people with good heart and good heads in any market structure will be expensive, not to mention Singapore's structure. How do I get someone to join us and not sacrifice their career or their future potential? So how do I build a system where when somebody joins us, they don't see this as maybe their retirement job or something that because they're so tired, they just want to do something purposeful and meaningful and not think so much about the money side of things, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are resigned to the fact that if I want to do something purposeful or meaningful, I cannot get money out of it, or I can't get too much money out of it. But people still have to think about their future. They still have to make money for their own families, for starting a family. And while we are driving profits as social enterprises, how do we go beyond? Because at some point of time, I think certain social impact has to be sacrificed for profits that you're going for. Because you'll be at a stage where, I believe you'll be at a stage where if you are competing with, or if bigger organizations are looking at you as competitors, I think that's where most of our profit margins will be crushed. And you cannot, I think it'll be difficult to compete with them if you don't think like them, or if you're not as clinical as them. And that really takes out the social element from the day-to-day work that we do. But at the same time, can I attract younger and growing talent and let them know that we can pay you reasonably as well as we can for this time and period. But at the same time, if you choose to leave after 3 to 5 years, you will still be very attractive to other companies out there. Because I think when, this might have been the 2000s, the dot-com period, when tech startups were a thing, and you left to do a tech startup, it was harder for MNCs to integrate you back because I felt that you were not learning things that I needed at that point of time. But I think as with Apple, Facebook, Google growing, it became a very strong value proposition for anybody who joined them. So if I join Google now, it's very easy for me to get a job almost anywhere else. But I don't think we have the luxury for social enterprises at that. So beyond it, something that we can control within our organizations, I think there are a lot of systemic issues that are still have to play in our favor before we can get more clarity on how do we not shortchange people who are doing good work. Should we not be paying more? Or should we not be rewarding people more for doing work that is good for the world?
Yeah. Maybe if I can help you reframe the question, just from our experience, 12, 13 years into this, a couple of things. I think one is, I wouldn't say coming into the social sector is shortchanging yourself. In fact, I think it's creating and adding value to your future in ways that nobody can, right? So it's really kind of reframing the narrative around it. If you are going to be focused on money, and that's what you need, which is very pragmatic and practical and real, then you do what you need to do, right? And that's important. But at the end of the day, I think we need people in the sector who understand the value of doing work with real purpose and meaning and impact, right? And understanding that profitability is a very critical metric of success, but it's not the only metric. And that the impact and how you create the profit is at the core of your existence. And when you get people who understand that, then it's no longer a perspective of I'm sacrificing what I could get out there to do this because my heart is good. It is, this is how I want to live my life. And this is how I want to use my gifts, right? And out there, where I'm asked to maximize profit in a singular lens, that's not the best use of my talent and my gifts and my life. So when you reframe it that way, you actually want people who see that and they want to be doing this work. So they don't see it as a sacrifice, they don't see it as a that they are losing out. Yes, there are always trade-offs, but what are you trading off for? And I think that's something that we've learned, right, is to find those people, make sure that there's alignment in that sense, because that's what you need in actually to be able to survive the challenging moments in this work, which is many, right? So if you're not here for the right reason and you don't understand it, you are not going to stay anyway. I mean, I've made all the mistakes, right? I've hired from all across the spectrum, paid a lot of money, and those who don't have this deeply embedded within themselves, they quit. No matter how much you pay them, they will quit because the work is too hard. So if you don't understand the meaning of your work, you will quit. And then retention, pathways and all that becomes secondary. So those are the hard lessons that we have learned, right? And I guess we've been very fortunate where people who see that, they come and knock on our doors. So when they knock on our doors and they knock without knowing what they're doing, we just go, can I join you? You have an opening? Those are the people I want to talk to because they're very clear that there is something missing in that pathway that they're on. And we, I think, can give them an opportunity to grow in ways that they would never be able to, right? So that I think that cultural and values alignment and fit is, to me, paramount. From a business perspective, we want to be paying market rate. Actually, I think we pay market rate. And that's our challenge as leaders, right? How do you create a business system that can function and compete with everybody else and pay market rate and still do impact work? That's the holy grail, right? It actually kind of means that we have to be more efficient, more productive, more effective, which is the hard thing.
I see this very analogous to people joining the public or civil service. If you want to be there, you'll be there. You won't see that as a sacrifice. The part that I think, so similar experiences, those who want to be with you, they will find their own pathways. Those who don't want, it really doesn't matter what you offer them or how much you offer them. These might be people who are just trying to figure out things at that point in their lives. But the part that I think I'm still struggling to also figure out is, how do we get people ready? Or are we only able to work with people who are ready to be with you at a point of time? So maybe fundamentally they have the right structure or the right values, but it could be a life stage thing, it could be a life experience thing. Is there any way we can accelerate to, because that would really widen the pool of talents that we get to work with?
Yeah, there kind of almost is a indoctrination process, right, where we help people be ready for the work. So if they come with technical skills, actually it's the mindset. The whole idea of how do you create and function in an inclusive workplace, right? And that starts with reframing your expectations of yourself and each other. So yes, I agree that there actually is some kind of process that somebody who's new to the social business sector needs to go through. And it's a mindset and kind of internal emotional calibration that needs to happen. And that's why in our work, there is a huge component of emotional management, emotional intelligence, and emotional growth.
Congrats, Pam, on being one of the steward leaders that are recognized at the most recent SL25
Congrats to you too.
summit. Thank you. And I'm glad that we both got that. I think for me, it's sort of a recognition that we are trudging on the right path, a path that I think we are pathfinding, because it's hard to find people who are exactly in the same space.
As you said, obviously it's always very nice to be recognized for the work, right? I think also it's important for our team to know that people see a lot of the unseen, right? And I think initiatives like Steward Leadership also help to bring to light, I think, the stories of the people who are doing the work. And I think we need to tell more of these stories, because at the end of the day, it's more than just a financial report, right? Or even an impact report, right? The stories about the people involved, the people who are benefiting and those who have benefited. And it's not just necessarily the people that we're trying to help. I think in doing the work, we all change. We all get better for it. The opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with you today, right? I mean, we don't have time to do that, right? So I'm really happy to be able to do this with you. You can share your story, right? And hopefully we can inspire more businesses and more individuals to rethink how things can be different, because I don't know, I feel like we are in extremely challenging times, right? As a human civilization. And we really, really need to get our act together. Really, right? Climate change, social inequality, war, just so many issues that we've created for ourselves. There must be a better way for us to think about how life in the future needs to be. I mean, I don't think we in our lifetime we can solve these issues. Social inequality, it's worse than ever, right? Climate change, getting faster than ever, right? But we have to start somewhere. And I think it is everybody's responsibility to think about what is your place in this world. You're not just here to consume and extract and destroy, right? What value are you creating? How are you regenerating the world and the earth? And how are you helping people to get out of bad situations? So any forum that I think helps us to do that is needed, and I think we need more, right? So it means a lot for us to, and we've been doing this work for so long as well. Right, and I think we have learned lessons that we're very happy to share with fellow change makers, because you don't need to go through the pain. We've gone through it, so you can skip it, right, and focus your time and energy on actual impact work. So that opportunity to be part of that larger community is also very precious.
I really think this is a very important point that you brought up. The part on we are all standing on the shoulders of everyone before us, and the resources are already very scarce here. Time is short. Don't make the same mistakes that others have already made. And these stories that SL25 created for us, I think really, first I think they were written very well. I think this is the best story that has been written about Inclus to date. So thank you to the SL25 team for that. So my co-founder Anders for showing me. I was reading, I said, it can't be written by you. So I said, confirm SL25 right one. So when I saw that and I said that
Thanks, Shaun.
I couldn't have put it in a better way forward, and that was a story that we shared. with the rest of our team.
Okay.
Because as we were sharing progress, are we hitting our targets? How many people are we impacting? I think subconsciously, eventually, we will just see this as everything is just a number, it's just a statistic. I'm not impacting lives, but my life is not a number. The people that you're helping, they're not just numbers. And a lot of the colleagues that I work with, they come from the non-profit space, and I don't think they get enough recognition or enough understanding and appreciation of the work that they're doing. Stories can galvanize this. We are very big with storytelling. The more stories that are told about us, the more that we have people helping us craft a piece out, I think we'll take it anytime. The challenging part for us is that I think if we can't craft it as well as how SL25 crafted it, we will just be a drop in the noise of ocean that everybody is talking about. I can be talking about myself, I can be talking about other things. But how do you stand out? I think SL25 provides that forum for that. And we're going to meet many people, having dedicated time with you, other change makers that we got to speak with too. I thought those have been very eye-opening, but very importantly knowing that, we're not just
You're not
in
alone.
this alone ourselves.
Yes.
It makes the hard times much easier. It's like, why am I doing this? And especially when you ask yourself too frequently that, right? You're going to ask yourself, why are you asking yourself so frequently?
It's fine, but I think it's just seeing the work that other people are doing is also very inspiring.
It is.
Right? I met somebody at the award ceremony, the lady from Mongolia, and she was using the wool to create fertilizer. I thought that was like brilliant, right? And I was so inspired. I went back and I started using the wool fertilizers. Like, how can we do this? Or wouldn't we work for coffee farmers, right? Because they're facing the same issues. So I think these moments where we learn about work that is, maybe less known about, it also sparks like creativity and innovation within ourselves, which I think is very important because we need to be innovating. The work and change is hard and it needs innovation because if not, it's just status quo, right? For me, that was just learning what everybody else was doing is always very inspiring for me. And that helps a lot. Very exciting, this next 5 years.
It is.
Because if we hit 10 years, right?
I really hope we can get to where you all have gotten to today. Hopefully less of a roller coaster ride.
No, just a different roller coaster, okay?
Different theme park. I think we're at a stage where we have to decide because if I'm supporting, the idea for us from the start was always to just support adults into employment and be as independent as you can, which meant that we were consciously focusing on individuals who were 18 to maybe 40 to 50 plus, because beyond a certain age or life stage will change quite dramatically. But now, as we are looking at them, and we are looking beyond employment, so how do I help you, your caregiver, and the family that you're in live a better life? And I can't just do that if I only provide employment support to you. So there are two areas that we have to decide where we want to head towards. Do I go earlier into your life? We are already working with them when they are in tertiary institutions, mostly for internships and getting them more work ready, or more ready for life outside of school, which most schools don't prepare us for. So we're trying that at that stage, mostly post-16. But we are also looking back towards, can we go as early as 2 to 3 years old, or at the point where they are diagnosed? Then we work with them with the idea that we're going to help you be as ready as you can to be independent in school, in society, and at work. Which means that potentially, if we work with them earlier on, we might not need to work with them when they graduate, because they will be more than capable of getting a job on their own. Then we work on the caregiver who has dedicated all their lives to helping their care receiver on how do you lead back, or how do you build a life for yourself and families. So beyond giving opportunities to the person with disability, how do we look at them as a family unit? That's been something that has been on our minds for quite a while. I don't think we will do any of this on our own. We will most likely still focus on employment, but if we decide to move to an earlier age or even towards the retirement age, we have to partner. Our resources are limited, our knowledge base is very limited. We cannot keep building competency from scratch. We have to find partners who are at different parts or who might not even be in this sector, but we see that has that value that can create, and we have brought in a couple of those to date really, to serve the gap that we have, that eventually we can hopefully be a life journey platform for families to come in and get the help and support that they need at any one point of time.
For us, we've gone through quite a few changes since COVID, right? Kind of restructuring the business model, kind of making it resilient for what life looks like in the future. I think the core hasn't really changed. We're still running, we're still focusing on creating kind of in-depth programs for marginalized individuals, whether it's the women, the youth, ex-offenders, people with mental health issues. But we've also recognized that, actually very similar to you, that actually early intervention and preventative work is actually critical, right? Because by the time they come to us and we start working with them, the amount of resources and time and energy to just get them to zero is tremendous, right? And those things you can't really scale. Because a human being just needs that much, right? So in the past few years, we've been ramping up our preventative models, reaching out to younger kids, even in schools, and working in the prisons, and just working in the entire ecosystem to say, okay, what kind of additional support that is needed. A lot of it is the emotional training work that we do, so really expanding on that, especially with the mental health issues that are so prevalent today. Actually giving people the emotional toolkit and skill set is what's really required. We need to build our EQ, not IQ. So I think we are going to be expanding a lot of that work in the next decade. For the education, on the technical skills front, we've moved beyond coffee now. So we've gone into the tea and the cocktails and basically building beverage professionals, because again, we are wanting to create more inclusive employment, create higher wages, and create career growth and pathways. And you can only do that if you have enough skill set to create value and productivity in the system. We can strengthen the entire F&B sector, which is really the goal here, right? And if you strengthen the sector, they can have more inclusion into it. So it's really kind of addressing the really big systemic issues through the work. And then on the farmer side, continuing to work directly with our friends from all over the world, right? From Ethiopia to Panama to Nicaragua to India, and saying how can we continue to create a sustainable business model to make sure we're paying our farmers and our producers fairly, because that's a major issue. It's not profitable. People are leaving the sector, and this is agriculture in general. So what is the security that we're providing for our food producers? Those are major issues. So as long as we can build that business, we are going to continue to try and make sure living wages are covered. And then really kind of moving into the B2C front. So for us, we've been very much B2B. So, I mean, always people say, oh, you've been around for so long, how can I never heard of you? Well, that's because intentionally we haven't really gone into the B2C realm. But I think we feel that now is the right time. We have built enough of a brand and impact to be able to communicate to consumers that actually your decision, your action actually can help people, right? So when you engage with social businesses, you are actually making a difference, right? I think more of us need to go out there and engage the end consumer and go, can you make a better decision with your money and your time, right? And your attention. We're gonna, in the next few years, go out in a much bigger way to consumers.
Thank you for the work that you're doing. You have really set the way. From my first social enterprise until now, Bettr Group has always been around. So
thank you.
I think it's a testament to the commitment that you and your team has.
Thank you. I hope that you guys continue to grow as well. We need everybody to stay vested, right? Don't burn out, right? And leave, because that's the most tragic thing. If we all can work together collectively, right, and support each other, to me, that's critical, so that we can kind of grow, right, the movement, and show the world that there is a better way to do business.
Thank you, Pam, for doing the good work that you have been doing for the past 10 over years. You have been pioneering a lot of the pathways and journeys for future social entrepreneurs to have a guide towards. I'm very thankful that we got to have this discussion. I'm thankful to Stewardship Asia Centre also for helping us get together, have common frameworks and common grounds to talk about, and build stories so that we can hopefully help the next generation of social entrepreneurs have a better platform to start with.
Thank you. It's very nice. I think I also hope to see you continue to grow because your model is not easy, right? So just keep at it. I want us to work more closely together as a collective so that we don't burn out and we don't leave the sector. We need more people like you, young people, right, to continue to expand the impact work. So thank you for everything that you're doing and keep going.
Thank you.